Nice. That's one of them new Ben Franklins you count there, baby pop.
You don't stop.
Gotta get that money.
You don't stop.
Oh man, this is how we do it. East, west.
What up? So, we just recently made a video about how to know if, as a man, you're operating in a feminine frame. So now we're going to talk about how to know if you're operating in that same feminine frame within your intimate relationship with the woman. So go ahead and jump into the video. I'm driving right now, so my head is going to be all over the place, looking out for these pedestrians on the street. So number one, off the rip, to know that you're operating in a feminine frame in a relationship or within your relationship is that you believe that both parties are equal, okay? So for a lot of different reasons, men and women are not equal. We're not equal on the anatomy chart. We're not equal in terms of physical strength. We're not equal in terms of hormones and, chemical balances and all type of shit. The list goes on. So if you believe that men and women are equal in general, that's how you know you're operating in a feminine frame. But in regards to your relationship specifically, if you believe that in a relationship the man and the woman are both equal and everything should be 50-50 or everything is 50-50, then you are sadly mistaken, okay? If you do feel as though your relationship is operating on a 50-50 level, you can rest assured that your woman or your lady, she is operating in a higher masculine frame than she should be. Hence that I could probably already reasonably assume that you guys may argue a lot, or you may feel as though there is a lot of tension in your relationship, because if everything is 50-50, then she's probably doing some things that are naturally uncomfortable to her, but you have both been led to believe that both of you should be calling shots at a high level. And that's probably leading to a lot of petty turbulence or major turbulence in your relationship. So if you believe that everything is 50-50, I'm sorry to let you know that it is not. As a man, or as a man operating in a high masculine frame, there's going to always be a sense of initiation and leadership that you must present so that your woman can operate in a really high feminine frame. So if you are operating in a feminine frame in your relationship and you try to make everything equal or 50-50, you may be noticing that your woman may overstep a lot, or she may question a lot of what you do, or she may, try to avoid certain, heavy topics or whatever, or she just may not trust you, so she may be somebody who is always trying to figure out what you're doing, or constantly checking up on you, or, wanting to know your whereabouts all the time and all that. So we'll get to that later on in this video. So number two, a way that you know that you are operating in a feminine frame, to speak on or continuing from number one, is that you allow her to initiate. So if you are allowing your woman or the person you're dealing with to initiate in terms of how the relationship is going, if you're allowing her to initiate or take the lead on what you do together as a partnership, or if she's taking the lead in the bedroom or anything like that, then you know that you're operating in a feminine frame. Now, there are roles to be played in all of these areas. So, if you're leading the way and then you're giving her a role within the thing. So if you're deciding, hey, going out to eat tonight, it's date night and this is where we want to go, so if you're allowing her to, look up the menu in advance, and if you're including her on the operation as far as like, hey, this is what I've chosen for us to do, this is where we're going, this is the time we're going, the day we're going, you initiate all of those fundamental foundational factors, that's fine. And then if you allow her, or if you empower her to, hey, go ahead and take a look at the menu, and you know, just make sure that, you know, this is the type of food that you may want to eat, or take a look at the drink menu and see if, you know, this is the type of, you know, thing that you may like, but this is what I've chosen for us to do. So you can go ahead and take a look at it too, and let me know your thoughts, or let me know how you feel, you know. But you want to keep it at how she's feeling and not what she's thinking. So with that being said, in order for you to initiate and lead the relationship, they always need to come from your thoughts and your leadership. If these things are coming from the woman, we all know that they are ruled by emotions, so her leadership is going to be ruled by how she feels in that moment. So it is not a very safe, or it is not a very, I don't want to use the word safe, but it's not a very advantageous or smart strategic thing to allow her to lead, because once again, if she's doing these things, she's going to be operating in a really heavy masculine frame. And like I mentioned in tip 1, that's going to eventually carry over into jeopardizing the integrity of not only the relationship, but jeopardizing the integrity of you as a man. So just really always be aware of that shit when you try to allow your woman to do things or initiate things, because once she starts to operate in that masculine frame, she's going to start to operate in that masculine frame at a higher and higher level, and then in more and more areas of the relationship. And then because she's naturally not built that way, you'll tend to see a lot of emotional turbulence from her, even though she's attempting to check off those boxes. So this is why when you get naggy, bitchy, complaining, whining women who are trying to take charge or lead the way or manage y'all's activities, this is why she's doing so in that kind of annoying and overbearing type of way, because she can't really control that type of energy. She's not built to really delegate and manage that type of energy. So this is why a lot of women that are in charge, they come across as very kind of annoying, or they kind of feel like they're doing the most, or they seem really rude and, you know, arrogant or standoffish or whatever in these types of roles, because even though they may be good at checking off the boxes and being successful and productive in these types of roles, the experience that you get, which we talk a lot about experience over ownership too, is that the experience that you receive from a woman in charge tends to be night and day from the experience that you receive from a man in charge. And that's just because of how they are built within that gender. So let me pull up my notes again. Phone locked up. Okay. And the number 3 way to know that you are operating in a feminine frame within your relationship as a man is that you are constantly checking in. So this is tricky because a lot of men don't realize that they are constantly checking in with their woman. So these are indirect ways of, you know, you guys are always on the phone with each other. You guys are always FaceTiming. You guys are always texting. You guys are always calling each other, you know, every given step, or she's always calling you. All right. So it's going to be natural for a woman to want to stay close and stay attached to the leader or the man in a masculine role in the relationship. But you have to balance that with a sense of mystery and aloofness, because this is going to tell her as a woman that your time is valuable and that you are being productive at the highest level as a masculine man in the world. So if you're always available, then there's no way in hell you are doing anything important with your life. So all of that checking in, or her, you know, shooting you text remarks about some shit that she saw on Instagram, or what her girlfriend said or did or didn't do or whatever, all of that shit is girl talk. And as a man, you shouldn't even have time for girl talk. So if you find yourself always available to speak to her or text her back right away, or randomly fucking get on FaceTime, or anytime she calls, you're available to sit down and fucking talk to her, you are inadvertently acting like a bitch. You don't even fucking know it. And naturally, she doesn't even know it either. That's the scary part. So she's not calling you in her mind going, oh, if he answers the phone, he's a punk, or he's not being productive, or he's less of a man. That's not happening in the front of her brain. But her nature, her emotions, her subconscious is allowing her to know and understand that you're not a man of high value, high integrity, or high standard if you are always available. So know that this does not mean to purposely ignore phone calls or purposely ignore text messages, or, you know, if she's in a fucking emergency or some shit like that, you're trying to, you know, put on a facade of being a high value man. That just means that you need to make sure that you're always assessing the situation and foreshadowing the fact that as a woman, they operate in quantity and not necessarily quality. Okay, so as a woman, she's going to want more and more and become greedier and greedier the more that you give her. So it's not in her nature to appreciate the little bit that you give to her. It's in her nature to want more of whatever you are giving to her. So if you give her Skittles, she's just gonna want more Skittles. If you give her steak, she's going to want more steak, even though that steak is way more expensive, it costs way more to produce, and is way harder to come by. If that's what you give her, she's just going to naturally want more of it, you know? Which is why, you know, women fall victim to staying around with shitty dudes, because they give them something, and instead of realizing that they deserve better or want better or need better, you know, the fact that, you know, he's just giving her anything, she just wants more of that, until, of course, she's introduced to something better, and then she just wants more of that, you know? So it's not necessarily quality over quantity with women. They operate in a quantitative type framework. So the more that you give her, the more she's going to want. So she's never going to be satisfied, which is why you hear a lot of guys say that you can never satisfy a woman, because there's really no finish line for them. You know, there's always a need to elevate. There's always a need for more. There's always a need for, you know, what's the next level or the next step and all of that type of shit. So when you constantly check in with her, you enable this behavior, or you kind of feed this beast, if you will. So make sure that you are staying aware of how much you speak to her on a daily basis. Stay aware of how much you to see each other on a weekly basis. If you two are already living together or something like that, just make sure that your activities together make sense and that you both have proper amount of alone time, so that you can kind of build some of that factor of missing each other and really cherishing each other's time. Because the more she gets used to you being around, the more you not being around becomes a problem. And then because she's naturally not built to see quality over quantity, she will leave you for another guy. She'll start, you know, doing other things that attract other men, or she'll just completely break up with you and leave you hanging out to dry. And the sad part is that it probably won't be anything really wrong with the relationship or wrong with the situation, but because she's not built that way, and you have to understand that she's not built that way, she will do things that result in a negative effect or negative behavior, because that, like I said, that initiation and that leadership has to come from you. So you need to understand that at all times. All right, so those are 3 ways to really know and understand if you're operating in a feminine frame in your relationship. If you are, and you want the relationship to last, or you just don't want to be that type of person, or you were unaware that you were that type of person, I hope this video really helped. I hope you can take some notes on this, play it back, listen to it again, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.